Why do I do what I do? I grew up in Indiana, and my father's family was from Romania, from Transylvania area. They lived in Terre Haute. And my grandfather worked in the steel mills. Very, very labor intensive process. We used to take family trips over to visit my grandmother, my great grandmother. I knew her. And my father, because of that environment, he couldn't wait to get out of there as quickly as he could. So he joined the Navy, and he ended up being a nurse in the Navy. And later on, he worked for Eli Lilly and Company as uh, a white collar worker for the rest of his life. When I was 13, I was in the bathroom next to him, and he started coughing up blood in the sink. Well, that's it's like unbelievable memory that I have. It is shocking to me. And this is the first sign of lung cancer, which he had. And he had various kinds of treatments. Obviously, at age 13, there was nothing I could do to help him. And the treatments, and it gave him 5 years of extra life. And then he ended up dying there. Not this is my home. This is my grandmother's home, great grandmother's home. But he ended up dying at home, essentially skin and bones, and having had incredible personality changes because of the degeneration of his brain due to the metastatic lung cancer he had. Now, this is my Uncle Russ and my aunt, my mother's sister. My Uncle Russ was a role model. He was a medical doctor. And he told me ever since I was little that I was going to be a doctor. And he kind of looked to me to take over his practice. My father died, as I said, a week before I graduated from high school. And that summer I worked with my uncle as his surgical assistant, where we did all kinds of internal medicine operations, removals of cancers, gallbladder resection, hernia repairs, all kinds of cancers, breast cancer, liver cancer, large intestine, colon cancer. It was an incredible experience that I had, but I decided I did not want to become that kind of doctor, so I went into philosophy instead. In elementary school, middle school, and part of high school, I played saxophone. I started out as clarinet. I was bad at it, terrible at it. And so then they moved me up to tenor saxophone and baritone saxophone. So I played that, and I was actually pretty good. I was on a stage band. I was first chair playing on stage in the school gymnasium. I remember that well, being quite nervous up on stage. But I never had my own instruments because we didn't have the money to buy them. And so they were always rental. And so as a result of my clinical practice, I was able to actually get my own instrument, a tenor saxophone, which I paid off over a couple of years, and then I joined. This is Herbert Mims. He's a professor of music at one of the community colleges here in this area, and so I joined a jazz improvisation class, which I was in for about 2.5 years, which was really, really, really fun. It just made me realize how much connection I have to music, and it also because of that musical training with the woodwind instrument, I have incredible breath. Deep breathing and meditative type breathing is something that one learns in as a woodwind player, and so that served me well. When I went to college, I had the opportunity to start to learn Tai Chi at age 18. This was just right after I had done all the surgeries that summer after my father passed away. So I started studying Tai Chi and I started studying Japanese. And so 2 years later, I went to Japan and I started studying more about the energy movements. After Japan, the second time I went there, first time was as a foreign exchange, second time was as a scholarship from the Japanese government. I decided, like some other friends, to travel through other parts of the world. So for 2 years, I was a low budget backpack traveler with a budget of $3 a day. Now, I, like everyone on this planet, have had illnesses. So when I was traveling, I got Bali fever, which was something like malaria-like symptoms, but it wasn't so bad. But I was laid out. I was laid out pretty badly for about a week. And luckily, there were some friends around to help care for me. In Sri Lanka, I got a cut on my foot from coral, and eventually that turned into a really bad infection. And I was traveling. Once I got back up to Kathmandu, this is a stupa in Nepal. at Pokhara Lake. When I was in Kathmandu, I went to the ER, emergency room, waited in line for like 5 hours, got some antibiotics, and that helped for about a week. It got better, and then it came back even worse, and my entire leg was swollen. My whole left leg, foot, calf was swollen, tender, just nasty looking. So I checked myself into the hospital and got IV antibiotics and other fluids. And when I got out, it still wasn't where it should be. It was still very bad. So I asked around, and everyone said, go see Dr. Madhavacharya, who was an Ayurvedic doctor in Kathmandu. So I hobbled my way down there, waited for a little while, and he took a look at it. He says, I can take care of it. So I go, great, that's whatever. And he said I had leprosy. I didn't care what he called it as long as he knew what to do to help it, because the other things I'd taken from the Western hospital had not done the trick. So I took these things that looked like little rabbit pellets for a month, and I wrapped my foot, kept it dry, put this Ayurvedic powder on the open wounds and some avocado oil and wrapped it. And after a month, it was totally healed up, and I didn't have any recurrence. So I realized the power of natural medicine, herbal medicine at that point. So it just made me more aware that that is the direction that I wanted to go in medicine. Just like the Tai Chi told me, look to energy and understand energy flows in the body and health. Fast forward to having two daughters now. They're older than this now, but they're two really strong, really intelligent, sensitive, funny girls who I adore and I'm just crazy about. And I've just been so fortunate that due to the processes I've created, I've been able to set an example for them. Independent, strong thinkers, sensitive, caring individuals. And have to give a lot of credit to their mother, too, who's also Israeli. We're divorced, but we're still on very good terms. Their mother. And because of growing up in a Israeli American family, they both are bilingual in Hebrew. Now, I speak Japanese fluently, and so I wanted to give my daughters as much of an idea of my life as well as their mom's life, because they've been to Israel almost every year of their life to visit. So I was able to take both of them to Japan on student exchange programs at different times, and share this love that I have for the Asian culture. I also, before I moved to California to practice natural medicine and acupuncture, I worked for the National Cancer Institute for 5 years in Philadelphia, translating Japanese research on cancers. This is another aunt on my father's side of the family who had diabetes. I went to visit her. One day she knew exactly who I was, and I hadn't seen her for years. The next day, she had no idea who I was. She didn't recognize her daughters frequently when they would visit. So she was in a nursing home for a long time. Her eyesight was poor. That's a side effect of diabetes, is damage to the retina. And her memory was also bad. And blood sugar imbalances are a component of dementia, Alzheimer's, and brain degeneration, brain dysfunction. People who are diabetic lose sight, and they also lose orientation when their blood sugar is off. So this is one of the components of my program in understanding people's blood sugar balance and helping to balance that out to help prevent the underlying sugar imbalance causes that can damage the nervous system. I've written 2 best-selling books on the brain. One is Super Brain, Maximize Your Brain Health for a Better Life, and the other one is Outsmarting the Dementia Epidemic, which is an expansion upon the TV segments that I have done in over 24 stations around the country on how to prevent and avoid Alzheimer's and dementia. My mission is to prevent 1 million cases of Alzheimer's and dementia because it is an epidemic. It is truly an epidemic. 1 out of 3 Americans dies with dementia, and 1 out of 8 or 9 Americans has Alzheimer's or dies with Alzheimer's. Now, this is my daughter and my niece I don't want them to end up in that. I don't want them to have to take care of me and to use the legacy that I would normally provide to them, instead using it to take care of me in a dementia or a memory care facility. I don't want that to happen for me, and I don't want it to happen for others. I have a podcast called Natural Solutions with Dr. J, and I've interviewed many people in the memory care and the Alzheimer's community who take care of people, and it is not something you want. It is a massive waste of resources when my three-step approach is something that could potentially extend your life 10, 15, 20 years and give you a quality of life that does not rob you of your memory, does not rob you of your relationships with your children, your grandchildren, and even your pets, who you don't even know who they are when they come to visit if you have Alzheimer's or dementia. That's why I created the Brain Wealth and Longevity Program, and I invite you to join me on this journey to better health, higher quality living, better functioning, and potential to transform your health and vitality both physiologically and emotionally in transformative ways. Okay, waiting room. Let's see. Breakdown. I'm not going to do that one. More. Manage participant. Oh, I don't know. Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me? I am just getting this figured out.
I hear you.
Okay, you can hear me? I'm trying to unmute everyone. That's a lot of people to talk at once. This is my first official webinar. Stop it. Okay, so it is officially noon. I want to thank you all for showing up. This is fantastic. I am excited. Today's my birthday, as you can tell, and I'm now finally a young man. And I'm going to unmute everyone so you can all jabber for a second. Okay,
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday.
Hi, Seagull. Haven't seen you in a long time.
Some of my
Hi, Ma.
some of the people I have known for their entire life, my daughters and friends I have known. I think Moses is the person I've known the longest from age, I don't know, 15 or 16. And Paula and I met New Student Week at Earlham College and went to Japan together. And Seagal maybe is next longest after all that. Seagal's in her car, I see. Lillian I've known for many years, and my daughters, of course, and Susan Quinlan. And who else is here?
I think Sigal can't hear.
Right.
Oh, Sigal can't hear?
Well, it sounds like she said she couldn't.
Okay. Well, I don't know what to do about that. She's driving in her car, so
Oh.
maybe Prius does not have like the ability to talk. Anyway, so I appreciate you all showing up, and one of the things one of the things that I wanted to talk about was, well, first of all, this sort of focuses on what I call my brain wealth and longevity program a little bit, and it's based on what I've learned over 37 years of clinical experience, as well as 49 years of work in the Oriental medical and energetic medicine arena. And so I kind of have like a long history of medical things. I did first aid classes and first aid competitions in the Boy Scouts. I bet you didn't know that. And I'm an Eagle Scout. I was trying to dredge up my little merit badge sash and everything to prove it. But and I don't have all my little medals that I used to have. I threw those away. But so that was some of my first start of medicine. And then, you know, I've had a lot of different, particularly when I was traveling, but not only that, I've had a lot of personal illnesses. When I was like 13, we were going to do a family trip to Washington, D.C., and it got canceled because I had the mumps. And one side was so swollen, and I had a fever of about 104, 105. And I had hallucinations watching the walls open up, and my friends getting to walk in behind the wall and play games when I couldn't. It's burned. I don't know. There's something about fevers that I think it burns that memory into your brain cells or something, because it's very, very clear. And then there were other things. You know, I got an infection on my foot that nearly cost my whole leg. That was a coral cut in Sri Lanka. And then I was traveling through India, and up in Kathmandu, I went to the hospital and got antibiotics that helped for a little while. And then it got worse again. And I checked myself in the hospital. My whole leg was swollen. They had IV antibiotics and things. I got out and I went and talked to Dr. Manavacharya, who is an Ayurvedic doctor in Kathmandu, and he gave me these little pellets that look like rabbit droppings. And so I ate those for like a month or two, and I put gauze and patches and oil on my foot where the wound was, and it cleared it up. So there's a lot of different things that I've done over the years, and in college I started studying Japanese, and I started doing Tai Chi. I had seen Tai Chi being performed in the art gallery at Earlham College, and so I started doing that, and I got strongly influenced by that. Now, one of the things that is, and I studied Tai Chi in Japan, and then I continued studying it for many years, and so that's been almost, 49 years of, I haven't done it religiously for a long time, but every time I do it, I go, why don't I do this every day? And so this whole work with Tai Chi and all has a lot to do with energy, and so I got interested in knowing more about the energy of the body, and so I started studying that. And so one of the things I'm just going to give like 6 little tips or 4 little tips on things you can do now to improve your immune system, and it's based on my understanding of energetic medicine. Who else? Raise your hands if you've ever done Tai Chi. Anyone else? Wow, great. A lot of Tai Chi people here. Excellent. Well, you know, it's an exercise meditation form. And one of the things that first got me interested in Asian medicine that kind of ties into this is a class I took in high school with Mr. McIntyre at North Central High School in Indianapolis. And there were a lot of different segments on religions, different religions of the world. And so they were talking about Taoism, which is Tao, Taoism or Taoism. And the Chinese symbol for that is actually a road. And so it's actually pathway, Tao. And so he read this story that's sort of an archetypical Taoist philosophical story. Well, so it's Zhuangzi wrote it, who's a great philosopher and sage. And one morning, Zhuangzi woke up, and he had dreamed he was a butterfly, right? And so then he was going, am I Zhuangzi, who dreamed I was a butterfly, or am I the butterfly dreaming I am drawn to? Well, you know, I think I was 16 or something at the time, and that hit me like a ton of bricks, or at least like a kilo of tofu, right? So it was like so impactful, and that really served as a rubric which I use to understand the world in many ways. So when I'm studying the brain, I'm studying other philosophies, I still think of that. And so I'm not quite sure whether I am the butterfly doing this webinar or the butterfly is just listening in the dream world right now. But at any rate, I think that's a really important thing to understand about me and where I'm coming from. So there's energetic medicine, and our bodies work energetically and all. So one of the things that we're going to do together is do an energetic exercise that's based on acupuncture that boosts your immune system and improves your blood flow. And we're also going to do some other things that are more physiologically based, just like on the immune system. So everyone find their sternocleidomastoid muscle. So it goes from behind the ear here, and it comes down and connects into the sternum here. It's this muscle right here. And if you turn sideways, you can kind of, so it's an angle. There are lots of lymph nodes that go here in this whole area. If you look at a lymph node chart, you'll see lots of lymph nodes here, lymph nodes under here. You've got lymph nodes under your armpits, a lot of lymph nodes in the groin, and they accumulate the toxic debris that the immune system is doing to fight off bacteria and viruses and stuff. So in this era of the COVID virus thing, it's good to make sure that your lymphatic system is flowing well so it doesn't get clogged up. So essentially what we do, we just grasp our sternocleidomastoid muscle like this very gently. We squeeze it, and we squeeze downward. So everyone do that. Squeeze your SCM muscle downward, and that helps to pump the lymphatic fluid downward to the heart so it can circulate around and be cleared out by the excretory system and get the liver to clear out toxins and other things. So, and it helps to get to the spleen. And so the lymphatic system does not have vessels, and it doesn't have a heart like our heart does. And so the only way that lymphatic fluid moves is either by gravity pulling it down or by muscles squeezing. So like every time you start going like this, nick, 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 you know, like that, or pretending like you're flying, that's actually pumping lymph from your lymph nodes in your armpits. And the same thing with movement of our legs. When we're moving around a lot and bringing our knees up to our shoulders, whatever, that is squeezing and compressing the lymph nodes and helping to move the lymph along. So that's really important for the immune system. Now we also have underneath, so there's a little notch here, this little notch at the bottom of your throat and at the top of the sternum. And this, right below that is the sternum. And the top of the sternum here, right behind that, there's a gland called the thymus gland. No, the thymus gland is really huge in children, but it gets smaller as we get older. And years ago, they used to think the thymus gland became inactive in adults, and so is irrelevant. But in fact, like one of my teachers, who's a cardiologist, Dr. Yoshiaki Omura in New York City, a very, very interesting guy. One of my teachers, Mikishima, and I went and visited him in New York, and he was kind of a hoarder. He was a hoarder of information, and so let me shut this thing off. He was a hoarder of information, and so when you went through his apartment, is in New York City on the upper west side, you could hardly walk because he had piles of literature and all this other stuff. And so you go through this little, it's almost like a Taoist thing, walking the pathway of knowledge, you know, through his house. But anyway, he was a very interesting man. And so he talked a lot about how the thymus gland actually is still very active. Now, many people, if you know much about HIV and AIDS, which when I first moved out to California in 1983, it was just starting to get going. So I know a lot about it. And I used to do special clinics on using herbs and acupuncture to help boost the immune system. But anyway, the T cells are what becomes infected by the AIDS virus. And so it's the thymus cells, T cells. And so the thymus gland still is very active. So what you can do is gently tap on, use your fist, the back of your fist, and tap. Everyone do this. Tap on your thymus gland, which is just below that sternal notch there. It's behind the bone. And actually doing that can help to boost the immune system. And Dr. Omura, in his research, showed that that actually boosts the immune system. And there are a couple points off to the side from there that are at the top of the kidney pathway, kidney point 27. And you can feel it between this clavicle, which is the bone that goes over here, up here, I forget the name, what else it's called. Anyway, the clavicle. The clavicle comes over and attaches to the sternum. And right below the clavicle and the first rib there, you can feel a little hollow spot. And if you press in there, that also helps to boost your immune system and the thymus gland. Now, we use acupuncture needles in there, but you don't have one right now, and I don't suggest using a fork or anything. So your fingers are good enough. So that's the actual lymphatic system, doing the sternocleidomastoid muscle. Again, practice that, going down like that. And I used to teach classes to at a yoga studio in Berkeley, Saraswati Devi, and I used to do on pediatrics. And so we would talk about children. Now, with children and babies, you can't really squeeze. In fact, they have there's so little neck. I mean, you go like this and it's the whole size of their neck. And so with babies, you just take your finger and rub downward along the neck. And that's a great way to help any infants or other children that you know of to boost their immune system. And because they get a lot of ear infections and sinus infections in this COVID virus thing also, as we all know, we wear a mask so it doesn't go in our mouth and it doesn't go into our nose. And so the lymphatic glands all drain down in through here from the sinuses and the mouth. So it's a really good thing to be doing this at the same time as you're wearing your mask or whatever. So then another important thing is doing abdominal massage. Now, most of you know, anyone heard of the gut-brain axis? Gut-brain axis? So our intestines have 70% of our immune system in it. And so the intestinal tract is very important for our immune system to work right. And if we have imbalanced bacteria and stuff in there, that can cause problems to the brain as well as the whole body. So because our intestinal tract moves in a clockwise direction, what we're going to do next, we're going to all massage our abdomen. So you're going to, it's like if your belly button's right here, then you start there and you just very gently move your hand. You don't have to press hard, but you just go in a large circle, a spiral, and then you start again. You go round and round in a clockwise motion. Now, one of the props I had was a big clock off my wall, but I forgot to bring it. But anyway, if you look down at your stomach from the top, clockwise is, this direction here. And if you're looking at my stomach, clockwise is the same direction. Although, yeah, I guess so. Unless everything is reversed here, but I'm going clockwise here. So you do it the same. You start around the belly button, you get larger, 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 till you get the rib cage and down along the pubic bone, and you start over again. So that's another great thing to do to boost your immune system. In Japan, they studied all these cutano-organic reflexes. So the nerves on the skin actually reflect down deeply into the organ system. So even by gently massaging your stomach lightly, that creates a nerve impulse that goes through the nervous system and affects the organs positively. And then as far as energetic medicine goes, with acupuncture, as you know, we have gravity, and gravity is a force that pulls us down. And in acupuncture and in Tai Chi, we talk about two forces. So there's the force of the energy from the center of the earth actually going outward. It's like a magnetic field going outward. So from your feet up to the hands is the direction the energy flows the yin energy, which is the earth energy. And then heavenly energy, which is yang energy, comes from the heavens, comes from the sky downward, this direction downward, our body. And so our arms and legs each have a directionality of flow of energy. So by massaging or even just going across it in a very gentle way, then you can boost the energy of the body. And I do this every morning when I wake up, and it helps me bring my, what I guess is I consider my electromagnetic field that has been in the dream world is sort of like not occupying my body that much. It's often butterfly land. And so to bring it back in my body, I do this, and actually it wakes me up very quickly. And so on the arm, we go from the armpit out the front of the arm to the fingertips. So it's armpit to the palm, and you turn your hand over, and your fingertips back to the shoulder. So everyone try that. You go from the armpit to the palm on the medial side of the body, which if you're like this is the energy going up from the earth up into heaven. So you're following that same directionality. And then you're going the top of the hand back to the shoulder, which is on this side of the arm, which is the yang energy, which is coming from Mars and from space downward in through your body down and the other side. Okay, so this is the armpit to the palm and top of the hand to the shoulder. So you do that numerous times. You do it 5, 6, 7 times. And you may find even now that it is helping you wake up. Now, on the legs is slightly different. And so this is going to be a little more tricky. I really should have a stool or something. So I'm going to bring a chair over. Oh, I know. I can just maybe angle this down a little bit. You see my legs? Well, sort of. Okay, so on the legs, the earthly energy is going from the foot on the sole of the foot, the arch, and it goes up the inside of the leg to the groin and up. So we go up this way and we go down the outside of the leg this way. So we go up, and we can do both at the same time. Up, so stand up, go up on the inside of the leg, down on the outside of the leg. Up on the inside of the leg, down on the outside of the leg. Up on the inside of the leg, down on the outside of the leg. Everyone got that? Okay, so those are the little tips that I have to help boost your immune system. And when your electromagnetic field is healthier and moving the right direction, then you can fight infections, you can have more energy, your immune system is stronger. Okay, so that's the end of my little mini webinar, because I feel like, you know, I should use my heartbeats and my breaths for some positive purpose to share with other people, and we're all kind of separated. So what else is going on with people? Anyone want to, besides my great gratitude that all of you came today, I appreciate that, and all of you have had such a positive impact in my life and for so many years. I just really appreciate you and wanted to express that to you. So anyone else?